when those few hundred people in every meeting go back, they are influencing what the world is thinking about us. So we have to get more world ready. The world has to be made more India ready. It is happening as we speak. But it will happen there's no it's not pre-decided. It will not happen by itself. It will require vision. It will require leadership. It will require understanding of technology. It will require, how do we overcome old thinking and vested interests. It will require you to make your choice. It will require you to make your choice, because at every step, something more is getting decided about the country. A crucial state like Karnataka, when if Karnataka does fabulously, the entire country is benefited. And that is the consideration with which today I ask you to look at the world. I want to say that when I go out and I talk to people, for me occasions like this are hugely helpful, because when I go around the world and say, look, I meet young people, I listen to their ideas, their questions, I see their optimism, their interest. It is something which makes an impression on the world, because we are seen today as a country of the future. We are seen as a country with a future. And that future is something which all of you have to decide. Once again, I thank you very much today for the opportunity to share this.
Thank you, sir. I'm confident that your insights and perspectives will be tremendously valuable as we move forward. Now, the stage is open for questions. We request the audience to put forward their questions and actively participate.
So I will take this. Okay. Yeah, thank you. So thank you so much for that very insightful remarks. I already see hands going up. So when sir asked me, yeah, I see all of you. Yeah, hang on. But I want to exercise the privilege of sitting here by asking the very first question, then I'll come there. So, sir, the last 2-3 years, as the representative for this constituency, when people would reach out to us, asking for help in, say if they were stranded in some part of the country, some part of the world, whether it was for a medical emergency, whether it was for a quick process of a visa, and most importantly, during the Vande Bharat evacuation, or even during the Operation Ganga, there are more than 1,600 students just in Bangalore South who came back from Ukraine. Or even for that matter, I still remember there was a biking enthusiast who came up to us once and said, I want to do a biking expedition across 37 countries in Africa. I want some help navigating all these borders. I still remember, sir, whether it was during the Vande Bharat crisis or whether it was the Ukraine war, whether it was later, you or your office or even the consulates of Indian embassies and consuls abroad, they are a WhatsApp away. And this isn't an exaggeration. In many, even yesterday, a very prominent singer from Bangalore reached out to me at 1:30 in the night. I was on my way back from Gulbarga. I was in the train. He said, there's an emergency. I'm stuck in UK. He sends me a WhatsApp. We draft it again, put it on a letterhead, send it to the UK consul. And this morning, there's a message. He says, sir, thank you for this. Same set of officers, same set of people, the same set of rules. But there's such stark difference that we are seeing, and foreign policy is not something that was so distant now. It's something that is touching everybody. What has changed? Because you were a bureaucrat and now you are leading the ministry yourself.
What has changed? I get a paragraph, I get a sentence, or I get a word? I give it to you in a
An
word.
essay.
No, I'll give you a word.
Okay.
Modi. You know why? I'll tell you a little story. When Operation Ganga was when Operation Ganga was going on, there was one particular city which was a huge problem. There were students stuck there. They were living in kind of air raid shelters. The Russians were just outside. There were Ukrainian forces there. This was in Ukraine, northern Ukraine. And there was a militia which was under nobody's control. And our students could actually, hear shells landing. And we'd keep telling them, saying, no, keep courage, we'll come, we'll get you, etc. One day, we actually got to a point where we got the buses there. The students came out, they sat in the buses, and the firing started. So they all rushed back. So we had a situation where, it was very difficult to actually, how do you motivate them? How do you give them the courage to come out? And we were we're talking to them really round the clock. It had been going on for a few days. So we came to the conclusion that the only way was that somebody would have to go. Somebody would have to go all the way to that place to tell them, saying, look, guys, you're okay, we are here, we'll take you out there. So I had a, shall I say, management challenge on my hand. How do you tell somebody, saying, why don't you go to a war? There's a little war going on there. Why don't you go there and risk your life and, do what is to be done? Now, the interesting thing was, while we were discussing it, two of my senior, and it had to be someone who spoke Russian, okay? So two of my senior officers told me, they said, we'll go. Now, one part of me said, okay, wonderful, they are solving my problem. One part of me said, okay, these are people, their families, God forbid something happens, what do I do? Now, they finally gave them the go-ahead to go. But I asked them, I said, okay, tell me, what motivated you? So they gave me that answer. They said, look, you have expectations of us. The country has expectations of us. But we also have a sense that the Prime Minister has set his heart on getting everybody out, and we collectively cannot fail him. So, when you have a strong leader, when you have someone who wears the commitment on their sleeve, where it's amazing how the rest of the society rises to that challenge. So when you ask me, same person. Now, sometimes it can be, okay, motivation, but also apply technology. Take passports. If you had been MP a few terms earlier, you'd be writing to me every day about getting some passport for somebody. Today you don't even know what's happening, and you should not know, because passports today are being issued as they should be. Faceless, contactless. You give your application in, and it comes out. Now, there again, how did it change? Here, actually, how to get a system to adopt technology, that itself is a huge challenge. So when I said Modi, it was not a smart answer, it was actually a real answer.
So, Bangalore has the youngest population in the country. It is the youngest city in the country with the largest number of millennials living here. Every time I encounter people, say at the airport in Delhi, airport in Bangalore, Chennai, wherever, one very big ask from people of Bangalore is that a city of the stature of Bangalore does not have the US consulate here. Many young techies must travel all the way to either Hyderabad or Chennai or Delhi, spend 2 days, 3 days for their visa appointments. They have to spend on the stay. While we contribute 40% of the country's IT revenue, why doesn't Bangalore have a US consulate that makes it so much easier? I had earlier met with you also, sir, and I only thought that it's appropriate to again request for this in front of such a young Bengaluru crowd.
Look, if I were, a resident of Bangalore, this makes perfect sense. If I was a decision maker in America, it also makes perfect sense. So, why it has not happened, honestly, it's not something I can do as an Indian foreign minister. It's something which obviously my American counterparts have to decide. But I do think it's a very, very compelling case. It's honestly a no-brainer. And since you have put it to me so strongly and repeatedly, and I can see what a response it evokes out there, I assure you the next time I meet Mr. Blinken, I will hammer home that message with at least as much force as you have done.
Thank you so much, sir. Thousands and lakhs of Bengalurians will be very grateful if you could strike this deal for Bengaluru. We all know that you are very good at striking deals, and we are very confident and optimistic
So
that this is going to come
deal,
through soon.
The next deal has been laid out.
Thank you so much. So I see a lot of hands going up. Let's, the gentleman in blue there, yes. Yeah. We'll come back. Let's try to get as many questions as possible. My only request is to please state your name and keep your question as brief as possible. Questions only, no suggestions, lectures, gyan, nothing. Questions only. Thank you.
Good afternoon, sir. My name is Naman Samtani, and my question is, how are we viewing the ongoing social and economic unrest in Pakistan, especially with groups like TTP wreaking havoc in the country recently, and the fact that it's a nuclear nation, and it can pose various threats if they fall in the wrong hands. So how do we look at the situation? Thank you.
Do I go question by question? Yeah.
Look, do you want to take a few first?
Yeah, maybe I'll take about 3.
Okay, sure. Yeah, here. The one in the cap. Yeah. You want a pen?
Thank you so much. So I'm Manan.
Can you please keep the mic closer when you're speaking?
Sure.
It's a little hard.
Can you hear me
to
now?
Yeah.
Perfect. So I'm Manan, and actually my question to you was, you spoke very interestingly about Indians abroad. What's your view on people of Indian descent on foreign soil making statements that people with vested interests portray in a negative sense towards India? What is your view on that? Thank you.
Thank you. The girl there? Yeah.
So can I just
Yeah, sure.
ask
Go
one
ahead.
question? So my question to you would be, now you're considered as, I'm here. So now you're considered as a man who has, completely changed India's global standing and given India for the very first time a very strong and independent foreign policy. So how did this whole thing happen? Had you envisioned it?